Hey everyone, it's Alison Heikkila. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we are going to use a really cool stencil set from Erin Creative. It's called Sunset Beach. It's beautiful. This is the first time I'm going to be working with it and I'm really excited to play with it. So this is the packaging, and inside you will find a whopping 8 stencils for this whole set, which is so cool. That's so many opportunities for different colors and just playing around and having a good time with the different layers. So you can see that here in the bottom right corner, they are numbered. So there's the 2. This one doesn't have a number there because it's open, but you can see it goes all the way to 8. And 8 is just very simply the sun. Either sunrise or sunset, whatever you prefer. We're going to be making a sunset today. I'm not sure if the colors are really very different from a sunrise to a sunset. I haven't paid that much attention, but I'm going with sunset today. So what I really like about the fact that this sun is all by itself and the fact that there's so many layers is that you don't have to worry about masking or anything. The layers are all broken down to make things nice and simple for you. So you use one color for each layer if you choose to. Obviously, if you want to break it up further, you can. But it makes things really easy and straightforward. So I've got my 6x6 gel press plate here. I really like to use this when I'm doing ink blending, especially when I'm using 6x6 layering stencils, because it's easy to just say, okay, 6x6 to 6x6, it goes there. Pick it up, the next one's going to go down, same spot. You just line it up and it's good to go. So it makes it really even easier to create these layers when you have something that is the same size as the stencil. So I have here a piece of smooth Bristol cardstock. It seems to have some stuff on it. Hold on. Just coming off. All right, good. And I've got a whole stack of distress inks here, and we'll go through each color as I use it. I have them laid out in the order that the stencils are. And then in addition to that, I have lots of blending brushes here. I just keep them in this awesome skull jar. This was given to me many years ago when I was an assistant teacher at a nursery school, and it was filled with Hershey Kisses. And I keep this on my desk and it holds my brushes because it's nice and compact and it's got that fun Halloween creep factor, which I love so much. Okay, so I decided that based on where the sun is, I'm going to have this scooched over just a bit. I don't want to lose my sun completely, and even if you did have it, over to one side completely versus the other, it's okay. But I really like, this is where the water is. Can you see that? This is the water line, okay? And I'd like to have a little bit more of that than less. So I'm going to scoot over my cardstock so that it's not dead center, just over a bit. And you can play with this. Do it however you like. You have plenty of room to work with. You can also just work on a piece of 6x6 cardstock and then cut it down. But I don't want to waste the effort or the ink or any of that stuff. This is a little crooked. And then have waste. I mean, you could use it on like another card later or whatever, but I want to just keep it nice and simple. I did cut this to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Usually I work on 4 by 5 1/4 so that I have a border around the edge when I adhere it to my card base. But I'm thinking we might not do that today because this is just so filled with color and pretty. So we might just leave it at that. Okay, so I'm going to line this up with my gel press plate. Now keep in mind, this has rounded corners and this has straight corners. But you can still easily line this up. Obviously, I want to make sure that my sky is in there. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Like I said, this is the first time I'm using this set, but it's going to come together really easily. Okay, so now you can see as I push it, the stencil gets darker. That's because it's suctioning to that gel press plate. So it's not suctioned here, right? But that's okay because these are not fiddly bits. We don't have to worry about that. Well, what did I just get on this? How did I do that already? We haven't even touched any ink yet. I'm just using my Tombow Mono eraser here. But hopefully my ink will just cover it up. I'm not going to worry about it right now. Okay, so I've got my first brush. This is my blue brush, and I have Salty Ocean Distress ink. We are going to use Distress ink for this entire process. We could mix and match different brands, but it was just easier for me to just grab all of my Distress inks. So I'm going to quickly go across this again. I'm using smooth Bristol cardstock, and because I used my mono eraser, we already have this sanded area, and that looks like garbage, so we're gonna flip this over. Oh boy. Oh, you know what? There's probably some color on my plate. That's what it is, Allison. There's color on the plate, and now it's going to transfer. All right, so I'm going to get a piece of scrap paper, clean this up, cut a new piece of Bristol, and start over. All right, fresh piece of cardstock. And we're going to try this again. I'm just going to saturate this smooth Bristol cardstock with ink. And now we're going to do this part of the ocean here. Really simple. You don't need to spend a whole lot of time at this. And, you know, if you just Google sunsets or sunrises or beach photos, you'll be able to come up with a whole bunch of different color schemes that you can utilize. Okay, so I'm going to put my salty ocean there. I've got layer number 2. You can see that there. And now we're going to lay this here like so. And what's nice is, you know, even if you're not working on a 6x6 plate like I am, some of the layers are going to just automatically line up, right? So this little swoopy here is going to line up with this little swoopy. So you just want to make sure that that is covered, but you don't have a gap. See? Nice and simple. Push this down so it doesn't move on us, and our next color is going to be Mermaid Lagoon. I'm not even going to change my brush. I'm going to use the same one and just going to apply some color. Just like this. There's no right or wrong here. You know, maybe you haven't seen colors like this in a sunset before. You know, obviously the blues you've seen in the sky, but I've got some wacky colors here. But I tell you what, where I am, I see some of these colors. Like, you're going to see that I've got saltwater taffy, and I am constantly seeing it in the sky in the evening. And I love that. My kids and I do this thing where we look up at the sky and we try to figure out what distress colors we see. And very often, saltwater taffy comes up. All right, that's our next layer. See how fast this is? Look at that. So cool. Okay, next up, we have number 3. Oh, okay. So now we're going to realign, and you can see that this swoop here is going to line up with this swoop here. I think that's what I saw. Yep. There we go. And then this is lining up with that. Push this down. A little overlap is okay. You just don't really want to have white spaces, because then you're going to break up your colors. You're going to have these weird white gaps, and it might not work so good. Okay, so now we have Wilted Violet. Different blending brush. And we're just going to apply this color, but this is already coming together so nicely. And if you don't want to use all of the layers, you probably don't have to. I haven't studied them enough to be like, oh yeah, you can skip layers 6 and 7, you know, if you want to. But I tell you, putting them all together doesn't take very long, and having so many different colors on the panel is going to look so great. I do have a couple of other ideas that might be a little bit less, how do I say? Well, maybe I shouldn't say. I have an idea for another one that uses this that will be very different from this, and hopefully I can get it made, and it's going to look how I see it in my head. And if I do, then I will be sure to share it with you. I'm hoping it works. Here you want to be careful because these are a little fiddly, so I'm kind of just sweeping across them as opposed to going in a circular motion, because I don't want to make them shift. If possible, I might have already done that before I realized. Let's see. Nope, did a good job there. So just kind of brush in the direction that it's going, so that this way you don't move them and you can keep that white space. Okay, that looks good. And these, you can just run them under water or put them in a tub of water. I usually keep one in my space with about 2 inches of water in it, and then I can just soak them and they come clean pretty much immediately. But I'm going to wind up doing that later. All right, next up is Kitsch Flamingo. So I've got my pink brush. We're going to line this up, and look at how easily, I don't even need to worry about what's happening with the gel press plate. I'm just looking at where we've got the wilted violet and our blue, and it's just going to line up beautifully. Push this down so it doesn't shift on us. My Kitsch might be a little dry. Oh, that's all right. That's pretty good. I think I need to re-ink it soon, though. So I'd love to know what kinds of colors you would use for this. Would you go with these bright, cheery, warm colors? I mean, they're not really that warm. Blues and purples and pinks are in the cool family, but once we hit it with the other colors that I've got chosen, it's going to warm everything up quite a bit. Could even go like full on fantasy and just do shades of green, you know, something like that. That could be really fun. Okay, that's it for the Kitsch. Pull this off. Look at that. It is really coming together. I have to say, it looks great just like this. It does. This could even be, you know what would be cool? If you did all like deep shades of blue and left that last, the 8th stencil alone, and made it look like a moon, like it's a nighttime scene, and then maybe splatter some white stars. Oh, that would be really cool. That would be very cool. All right, now we have Saltwater Taffy. I have a new brush. And here is number 5. Look at how easily that just covers up the spaces that we've already done. Slightest bit of overlap, which I'm good with because it means that we're not going to have any white gaps. Okay. Nice and quick. Be careful over here. These areas could move a little bit. If you're a little concerned about it, or if you don't have a gel press plate, you could use pixie spray and spray the back of the stencil with that, and that will help it from moving. People are starting to use those pouncers too. They're like spongy, and you kind of dab them like this. They're like supersized ink daubers almost. I don't have any, otherwise I would show them to you, but that would probably work out really well for this stencil set as well. Okay, look at that. Loving this. Okay, next up we have Abandoned Coral. I'm going to use the same brush for this. Going to kind of align this as best as we can. Now you've got some that's down here too, kind of highlighting that water. Now this one is super flippy. See that? So be really careful here. I'm just going to go in the direction that it's pointing so that we don't shift it and we don't mess up our Kitsch Flamingo underneath. This one's a little flippy too, so just be careful there. And now we have this area with the water. Do you like going to the beach? We don't go to the beach very often. But once I'm there, I'm like, why don't I come here more? Truth be told, it's probably because of all the people. Okay. Wow. I'm so impressed with this set. It's just beautiful. Okay, next up we have Ripe Persimmon, new brush. Getting my orange one now. And, oh, the 7 is on this side here. Can you see that? 7's on that side. Okay. This lines up really easily because there's so many things that we've already inked up. This is going to really warm that sky up. I was thinking about using carved pumpkin, but I just thought that Ripe Persimmon would work better because it's got, it looks so nice with abandoned coral and saltwater taffy. Not that carved pumpkin doesn't, but carved pumpkin is more of a true orange. And I just thought that this would work better, and I think it does. We're on the home stretch, folks. One more stencil after this. Wow, that is so cool. It was really fun to choose these colors. A little fuzz. Okay. Last, but certainly not least, we have mustard seed. And you know what? I think it might be better with wild honey. We're going to change that. Or maybe just add a little wild honey to it. I changed my mind. We're going to go with fossilized amber. I think that that's going to be better. Just a little bit. Just to kind of warm it up a bit more. That's better. Look at that. That is so pretty. Now we just have to carefully peel this off. This is beautiful. Now we need a sentiment. Okay, coming in with my binder. And if you've watched a bunch of my videos before, you might have seen this binder. This was inspired by my friend Amy from Amy's Wares. And this is where I keep my pre-made sentiments, some of my colored in images, things like that, just to make my life easier. It's nice when you're not feeling creative to kind of just cut out a bunch of words or stamp out and then die cut a bunch of words and just have them at the ready so that when you're creating, you don't need to stop what you're doing, like kind of mid-flow, and do something like this. I gotta say, I think that's the winner. I don't even think I need to look any further. I like the color. This was done with, I want to say, hold on, Tulip Red. VersaFine Clair. It fades back a bit, but I'm pretty sure that's what this color is. But I like the Just a Note. Sorry about that very loud motorcycle going by. I like the Just a Note because it can be used for pretty much any occasion. I like the way it kind of goes around like that. We're going to go with that. That was easy. Anyway, so this is my binder, and it's worked out really, really well. You can see I have a bunch of different things here, and it's a good way to keep things stored. Okay, and those are just baseball card holders that I've got. The pockets. Am I making sense? Gosh, I hope I'm making sense. Guys, I don't even want to do anything else to this. We're not cutting it down. We're not gonna add any blingage of any kind. We're gonna just adhere this and call it a day. I've got my Artis craft glue from scrapbook.com, and we're using this instead of the Barely Arts, mainly because I've got a bigger tip on this and it just goes on faster because of that. I have a really tiny tip on my Barely Arts glue, and then I have that big guy on the Artis. They work very similar to each other. And now I'm going to just grab my big block, if I can find it. Put that on there to hold it down. Add some glue to this. You don't need a lot. I tend to overdo it. Okay. There we go. Loving this. And that really didn't take long. I mean, this was all done in real time. What do you think, guys? Should we try this in other colors? Let me know in the comments what you think. Like, are you satisfied with seeing it once? Or do you want to see some other ideas with this stencil? I would love to know. Let's get a close-up. Beautiful. Erin, I'm loving this stencil set. It's fantastic. Again, this is called Sunset Beach. This and all of the other supplies that I used today will be linked in the description box below. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I will see you guys all very soon with another video. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Be well, stay safe. Peace out.